I wanted to start, Ikhwan, this weekend off by mentioning what some of the scholars have said about him. Before we get into the particulars of his life, before we talk about his birth, inshallah, and his rearing, and we talk about his work and his studies and his going south to give da'wah, I wanted to just talk quickly about what some of the ulama have said regarding him, and some of the rulers. Some of the rulers also said about Shaykh Abdullah al-Qar'awi, rahimahullah ta'ala. And I also want to read, inshallah ta'ala, what in particular Shaykh Ahmad al-Najmi wrote about him in the introduction to a biography of the Shaykh. So if Allah wills, we'll get to some of this tonight and continue over the weekend, inshallah ta'ala. And I want to start, Ikhwan, with what Al-Malik Saud ibn Abdul Aziz Ali Saud said about Shaykh Abdullah al-Qar'awi, or rather to Shaykh Abdullah al-Qar'awi, as they would exchange letters and the likes of this. He said, وَلَا عِنْدَنَا أَيُّ شَكٍّ فِي بَذَلِكُمْ الْجُهُدِ فِي الدَّعْوَةِ وَالْإِرْشَادِ. He said, we have no doubt whatsoever as it relates to your efforts in the propagation of the religion and guidance, yani calling to correct guidance. وَتَعْلِيمِ الْحَقِّ, and teaching the truth. وَنَشْرِ الْعِلْمِ في تلك الجهات التي طالما اعتقرت فيها ظلمات الجهل والضلال. We have no doubt whatsoever concerning your efforts to propagate and guide the people and teach them the truth and to spread knowledge in those areas that for so long have been benighted by the darkness of ignorance and misguidance. We have to understand, Ikhwan, and we'll get into this over the weekend, inshallah ta'ala. We have to understand the circumstances that were going on in the southern region when Shaykh Abdullah al-Qar'awi came there. As I mentioned, Ikhwan, we're talking about the construction of mausoleums and domes over graves, grave worship. There were situations, Ikhwan, they had, for example, one story, there was a woman in a village who people ascribed the ability to benefit and harm. Like almost she had this ability, this power to benefit or harm. And people would actually come to her to give them safety and security from things. And Shaykh Abdullah and Ikhwan, when they heard of the likes of this, they would go to these places, these villages, and they would invite the people to the call to Tawheed and explain to these individuals that what they were doing was from shirk and was in opposition to that which the Quran calls to, and in opposition to the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you had the likes of this going on, Ikhwan. As we said, we had widespread intermingling, widespread magic and sorcery, all of these things going on. People calling on the jinns and the likes of this, Ikhwan, in the open, widespread villages, Ikhwan, of people who were illiterate, who could not read or write. If someone sent them a letter, they couldn't even find anyone to read it for them. In many of these villages, Ikhwan, they didn't even have Jum'ah. They would just pray Dhuhr on Friday. There was no one to even give a khutbah. So the Shaykh came into circumstances, Ikhwan, I need to express and emphasize the conditions that the Shaykh came to when he came to the south. So here we see, Ikhwan, when this is the king mentioning this, Ikhwan, in those regions that for so long had been benighted by the darkness of ignorance and misguidance. So here we have the ruler, Ikhwan, mentioning that they had no doubt regarding the call and the efforts of Shaykh Abdullah al-Qar'awi.